So what is the actual vision of this meeting? What is the reason why we are interested in coming together? Well, lots of reasons. I mean, take a moment and pause and think about why you are here. And then think for a moment what's happening in the world. And think what that means to your organization and to our country and to your community and to your profession, your personal life. Lots of changes are occurring. We're evolving as a world, and we're evolving as a country, and we're evolving as individuals. For me, one of the visions that I would like to promote is this notion of realizing a national geospatial infrastructure. And this is not a new idea. This is an idea that's been around nearly 3 decades. And it calls on the idea that we could collaboratively connect our work into a kind of fabric, sharing appropriately information so that 1 + 1 = 25. We can actually do what GIS was initially intended to do, is integrate knowledge, share, collaborate, and work on the big problems. Today, we live in a complex and interconnected world, and where your mind went when you paused for a moment about what you care about and what you saw the big trends are reflecting this network of interconnections. And geography, the science of our world, the thing that in some ways brought us together here, is organized by design into cultural geography and natural geography, ecosystems, and the human footprint. And this world is evolving constantly, has been from the beginning, of course, and it continues today, but today it's accelerating. It's actually accelerating for many reasons, and that acceleration, some of it driven by technology, some of it driven by population, is creating many challenges for us. And these are challenges that literally threaten our nation, and certainly some say our future as a human species, our society. And the evidence I would simply suggest is not only shown in some of the maps that you shared, but look at the list on the right. Climate change, population growth, the accelerating loss of biodiversity, national security, social instability, political polarization, not just here in this country, but around the world. Today, we are in a place that humans have never been before. And our country has never been exactly challenged like we are today. And for you particularly as individuals and professionals, the people who actually build our infrastructure, it should send a message. We need more understanding and more collaboration and action. And what can we do, actually? My sense is a lot of people are doing things that are addressing all those challenges, but us, the people actually in this room, can actually do these things. Envision this notion of collaborating and building and managing essential information, and then applying it, designing a more resilient country, working together, envisioning the notion of integrating, like the work that NatureServe is doing, into virtually all of the human activities that we do. And also at the same time, staying up, staying current, working hard to understand the emerging technology, learn it. I mean, if I can do it, you can do it. Let me just put you on the spot. An old man like me can stay current. There you go. Are you in this? Or are you going to sort of laggardly take your oar out of the water and your ship will go adrift? Don't do that. It doesn't pay off. We need to leverage our best technology. We need to leverage our best science. And we also need to leverage our best creative problem solving. And this, in many ways, is probably what brought you here. You are people that actually do that. This activity, we sometimes call the science of where, is a framework and a process where we can bring our geospatial data together into an infrastructure and then visualize it and analyze it, tell stories, and then crank it into the behavior of how our respective organizations operate, how we make decisions. This isn't about going to the right or going to the left. It's going forward with science, a foundation that's expressed in this geospatial infrastructure vision. It's leveraging the power of geographic knowledge to be able to manage the nation better. And I'm speaking to you as your colleague. I'm not preaching to you. I think most of you would probably be more articulate at being able to deliver this message than I am. But this is the thing, to me, that brings us together. This science of where, technically speaking, is exploding. It's growing our community, not only in advances in GIS and simpler forms of GIS called mapping and location tools, but also geo-enabled systems, systems that are supporting things like citizen engagement or location analytics or real-time indoors and so on. It's also the foundation for spawning a whole new community of application developers. The developer communities waking up to not just the power of simple mapping, but more richer, the deep analytics and knowledge that your kind of work really offers. What is this geospatial infrastructure term? And I've already given the plot away. It's geospatial content, it's the mapping and analytics part, and it's the integration part that brings content together to see the whole, a kind of platform for seeing everything and understanding it, and a platform for collaboration and solving problems. In other words, it's kind of a GIS at scale. When we think about geospatial infrastructure for the nation, another way to think of it is, I'm building a GIS for the nation, and we're bringing the various pieces together. Now, this is a grand vision, and perhaps unaccomplishable. Do you think? You don't? I don't think, I mean, I believe in this vision. And you may say it's just a vision or some, PowerPoints that Jack is sharing, but let me share you with this one notion. I think it's not just a vision. I think it's not only possible, but in many ways, like the internet, it's inevitable. But it'll either go rapidly or it'll go step by step slowly. And to many of you, you're thinking, well, how can we make this vision come about so that we can do our work better and faster? And that's what I want to talk about. This platform of GIS is advancing. It's advancing because we're getting much more data, much more real-time data. Computing and innovation itself are affecting it. These data sets are just like a fire hose of information with new kinds of sensors and new kinds of computing. Not only cloud computing, not only web services, but the integration of machine learning and AI into the computing networks. And in the GIS space specifically, new forms of modeling, new forms of visualization, AR, VR, predictive modeling, seeing into the future, seeing what we cannot see today. And these forces are being recognized in a new pattern of GIS, and I've shared this with you in the past. This pattern is web GIS. It's no longer desktop GIS or server GIS or mini-computer GIS or mainframe GIS. It's a new pattern for deploying GIS, and this web GIS is a modern pattern that's services-based. Everything's a service, dial tone. It's leveraging on the standards of the web web services, REST, etc. And this pattern involves everybody. It can involve us as individuals being served with services, or organizations, and actually extending completely to communities. And it's all about sharing and collaboration, this pattern. You with me on this notion? It's pretty simple, really, conceptually. But this has taken us an eon to be able to build the little building blocks to be able to have this pattern implemented into a distributed computing environment where I can have some data in Australia and some data in Indonesia and in Hawaii, and I can bring this together dynamically over the web. WebGIS supports multiple patterns of implementation. It certainly supports the pattern of how I got started in GIS 50 years ago, doing little projects, making maps, doing analytics. This pattern also supports the idea of building information systems, systems of record keeping, and applying it. And this new generation, this kind of system of systems, I've called it now 3 times, Geospatial Infrastructure, is about using web services to bring this together. And I'll cover some of this. But what makes it so compelling? What makes it compelling is, first, it's a lot easier. It's easier to implement and use, so it's reaching a broader audience. It also has a lot of little parts: web maps, web apps, portals, smart mapping, story maps, now analytic Python notebooks. It can be distributed, and so on. And all of this is fueled by content, the kind of content that many of you actually build. Not only content as framework layers, but also ad hoc project-based content that can be discovered and brought together dynamically. The web map is an interesting instrument. It's not simply like a Google map, a web map, it's a technical specification. So I can build a web map, mashed up data sets, email it to others, use it as a kind of language for communication. Web apps are opening up web maps and applications and taking your science everywhere, taking it to the edge, as they like to say, into the boardroom, into citizens' hands, providing real-time dashboards that show us what's going on in space and time. And spatial BI, a new term, things like insights, the little thing that looks like Tableau but does spatial, is opening up spatial analytics to a whole new audience. Yesterday I had the occasion to meet one of the organizations in the Intel community. They have 1,500 analysts now that are using this to explore what they can't see. Just drag and drop. People that are not familiar with, like many of you, the concepts of GIS, but they can drag and drop and do really amazing analytics, provide insights. GIS is also commingling with open data science tools. Tools like R, things like Python notebooks are now opening up and allowing us to integrate in a casual programming environment the power of GIS with all of this new world of data science tools, providing and integrating geospatial processing into the data science world, but integrating the data science tools into your world. And that's very exciting. As big data scales up, it means new access and new power for the GIS analyst. And boy, Earth observation, combined with GIS and AI, is giving us new insights, giving us global intelligence. This map on the left I've shown, I think once before at this conference, is done by a combination of NOAA, the Weather Service, USGS, and it's modeling rainfall. It falls on the terrain and it moves through the terrain and shows where it's going to flood 15 days in advance. and the work with the Army Corps and others to be able to take this and create new dynamic floodplain mapping 15 days in advance. That kind of big model with big data is going to become a pattern for usage for all of us as services and so on. The last thing I want to mention about this pattern is that it's driving transformation. Perhaps I've already said this. The idea of our traditional GISs, they're becoming connected to these portals so that we can integrate different GISs together in a services environment so I can mash up, connect, discover each other's work and then apply it to whole new ways of thinking and doing our work. The head of the Army Corps this morning was at our breakfast, and he mentioned this again and again, that his challenges today are driven by the need for almost real-time decision-making during hurricanes, during construction projects, and so on. This is the world that we're moving into. And what's next is going to be this at scale. In other words, we will digitize virtually everything we do. We see this already happening in our personal lives with things like social media and Facebook and what have you. The ability to integrate enterprise data, the data that you guys build and use and share, into an interconnected system which is simultaneously accessing information means GIS at scale for the whole nation. That means leveraging the power of your collective work to inspire and give us guidance for how we should drive this nation. And how do we do this? We can't sit around and argue or politicalize this. We need to embrace this transformation and the science that you have built and envision a nation that has got a better future. We need the spirit. And you're the people I can talk to that understand what I'm talking about, right? We need to participate in this and share and figure out the right technical and political little p solutions for creating what I would call a geoscience foundation for the future of our nation and, of course, the future of our planet as well.